Although Marie Kondo is someone that I hugely admire, not all of her methods are something that I agree with. I have been on a minimalist and clutter-free journey for the past 4.5 years. Together with my family, we've decluttered about 85% of our overall possessions. So today I want to dive in and take a look at the techniques that Marie Kondo suggests that actually don't work for me. She says tidy by category and not by room. My very first decluttering project where I completely overhauled my space was my kitchen pantry. Now, this could be considered both a category and a room, but for me, it worked really well to see a completely finished space. Her method would suggest, like if you're gonna go through your closet, you would just take all the clothes in the entire house and pile them up on the floor. And that is how you would approach decluttering your closet. But I feel like this doesn't really give you a good overall transformation. And I'm telling you, that's what does the trick. At least that's what worked for me. I was not planning on pursuing minimalism when I decluttered that pantry. But because I saw a completely transformed room, a completely transformed space, I realized that this was something I wanted for the rest of my house. And I feel like if you're wanting that big payoff, then maybe going by room or area or zone in your house is a better way to go because you get that complete and overall picture. Now, maybe Marie is suggesting that if you're somebody who only keeps clothing in your closet, doing this category would give you a complete and total overhaul of the space and give you that shock factor, which is complete perfection in that area. This does not work for me because I keep way more than clothing in my closet. Going right along with that, she likes to declutter in broad categories, like all your shirts at the same time. I like to break it down even more specifically and say, just focus on your short sleeve shirts, your long sleeve shirts, your sweaters, your blouses, and have each one of these potentially be a decluttering session. When, like I said, my pantry is my best reference for like how I got started on all of this. It was an 8-hour commitment. And I know that a lot of us do not have that kind of time. That was a pretty rare exception for me and the longest amount of time I spent on a specific project. It's okay to break things down into subcategories if that works for you. I quote her when I say, do not even think about putting things away until you have finished discarding. All right, in theory, this could be really great because you're not getting distracted. If you're sitting down to declutter, you're staying with the project. You're not letting yourself get sidetracked and you're just staying focused. So I see that there is some value in this. However, if you are trying to make quick, visible progress, this is something that Dana K. White really preaches, and I have to get behind her. You can really make a lot of progress just in 5 minutes when you do relocate items throughout. So if you're in the middle of this project and you find something that doesn't belong in that space, going and relocating it is an amazing idea. Now, finding a home for items, I can totally see where Marie's coming from. Don't stop and then spend 20 minutes trying to decide where this item belongs. I agree, that is a huge sidetrack and a total derailment, but I think if you know the item just needs to be relocated and you know exactly where that item is and goes, go ahead and do it now because you will make, like Dana says, real visible progress in a very short amount of time. Now let's talk about her famous Does It Spark Joy approach. So in her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, she goes into quite a lot of detail about this and how that is what really made the transformation for her, was asking if an item sparked joy. Now, she specifies and says, get rid of obvious things that are broken, things that are garbage, where you don't actually have to hold it up and say, does this spark joy? So I think what she's talking about are the leftover categories after you've decluttered all the completely obvious stuff. But instead of asking, does it spark joy? I like to ask, have I had an opportunity to use this? And if I ask myself that, and then I say, yes, I've had an opportunity, but I passed it up, it's just kind of taking a little bit more practical approach and not relying so much on emotion. I feel like the more we can take emotion out of decluttering, the more successful we will be. So I don't actually recommend, at least it does not work for me. Does it spark joy? Going along with this, she asks you to touch each and every single item in your home. I also disagree with this. I think the more you touch something, the more likely you are to attach to it and want to keep it. So I recommend, if at all possible, you can have someone else, even one of your kids, hold up the items and then you make the decision from there. I think it is so much more likely that you will make more progress. Now, she has a very specific broken down approach to what items you should tackle first and what items you should tackle last. She puts sentimental items on the very bottom of her list. I completely agree with this. What I don't agree with though is starting with your wardrobe, starting with your clothes. I think we have too much attachment to our clothes. They represent different seasons of our lives, very specifically, different memories, different times. Oh my gosh, I held on to the shirt that I was wearing when I met my husband for like 10 years. Somehow I associated that shirt with marrying him. You don't need to keep the physical item that reminds you of the special time. You have all those other memories intact. Your closet can really, really tug at your heartstrings and your emotions. I say start somewhere like the bathroom where you've just got a whole bunch of cotton balls and unused lotions. I think the bathroom or the kitchen are a better place to start. She is really big on thanking each individual item. In fact, when she walks into her home every day after she's done working, she welcomes her house, but she also thanks each item. As she takes off her shoes, she thanks them. She thanks her purse, her wallet, and then she also suggests, as you are discarding items in your home, that you thank them for the service they have provided you. This, to me, although I agree with the overall sentiment and I love the positive attitude, it feels exhausting. I can thank the entire bag of discard items at the end. Marie Kondo very specifically wants her clients to feel overwhelmed. This is part of that jolting part of the process that's supposedly going to really transform your perspective on your home and on yourself and really start motivating you to make these changes. Her clients are decluttering and feeling this overwhelm. She is there. She is coaching you, holding your hand, helping you through the process. I decluttered alone, and I think that's the majority of us. We are decluttering by ourselves. And so to have this feeling of overwhelm by yourself can be really, really bad and negative. So although I agree that having this feeling of like, I've got way too much stuff, I need to make a change, I need to declutter, that can be very good and motivating, but I do not think it is necessary to feel complete and utter overwhelm every time you go to declutter in order for you to continue making progress. When it comes to storing, like organizing items, finding homes for the items that you're keeping, she really suggests storing items together that are similar in function and purpose. This does not always seem practical to me. I have a pair of scissors in with my cookbooks and next to my baking supplies. And the reason being is because this is where I cut open my yeast packets for bread making, and this is where I trim the wicks off my candle. So for me, it's actually where I use the item most often that makes the most sense. I don't want to put the scissors with some other office supplies that I rarely use and have to make the journey across the house or across the kitchen when I know it's not as practical or as convenient if I just put it right where I use it. I wouldn't take this rule as completely useless or bad advice because overall I think it does make a lot of sense. But if there are a couple things in your house that you want to put in a kind of precarious place because it's where you use the item most often, I don't see anything wrong with that. This next one, I kind of blew my mind. When she tidies up, declutters, organizes, she wears a dress and a blazer. She says that it's a celebration, and I agree. Getting things out of your house, freeing yourself of the burden of clutter is something to celebrate, but she dresses for the occasion. This is not something that I'm gonna get on board with. I don't even want to try it. I am not putting on a dress and wearing a blazer. I will get overheated and uncomfortable. So that is something, what do you think? I want to know, would you consider decluttering or cleaning in a dress and a blazer just so you could celebrate the process? I don't get it. Anyway, guys, I have another video on the screen. I will meet you over there.